Good morning, it's 6 a.m. Hello and welcome to 3FM 92.7. The bulletin is live from our studio here in Adisawe, Kanda, Accra. Online, we're streaming live on 3news.com. My name is Deborah Abamensa. Coming up this morning, Deputy Attorney General rejects NPP's political persecution claims after party's Ashanti Regional Chairman was handed 20 years in prison over Galamsey-related charges. Meanwhile, his campaign team says Wontumi is still in a race for the national chairmanship position. Plus, the minority criticizes government's decision to secure a $300 million loan from the World Bank to finance the secondary education transformation for access, relevance, and resource for jobs. There are details of these and many more stories for you shortly. Do stay with us. Let's now settle for the details. And in our first story, well, the NPP's Ashanti Regional Chairman may be in prison, but that is not the end of his political ambition. And that's according to a member of his campaign team, Bernard Enchiboesiako, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, has begun serving his 20-year imprisonment sentence at the Nsewen prisons, a development many say can impede his desire to be the national chairman of the party in the upcoming elections. Speaking to 3FM News spokesperson of his campaign, Dr. Paugo Boachedankwa, says Wontumi will contest the race.
Yes, the party is going for an appeal. The lawyers are going for an appeal. The party has stated that this is political victimization and considered Chairman Wontumi as a political prisoner, which means that the party is not going to be working with all the convictions and all of the other issues that have befallen from the courts. And so, as far as the party is concerned, then Chairman Wontumi is a political prisoner. And filing has not reopened yet, nomination has not reopened yet, and so we are waiting for all of that. The campaign team is going to be meeting the General Secretary to understand what our own party's constitution says in relation to this before they make a decision.
And that was Paugo Boachedankwa. Now, the Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Justice Ramsay, has rejected claims by the opposition NPP that the state is politically persecuting the party's Ashanti Regional Chair, Bernard Enchiboesiako. Wontumi was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison over Galamsey-related charges.
Most of the evidence that we have, the pieces of evidence that we have, which the judge relied on, came from their defense. Defense witnesses, the accused person's own comments, his own witness statement, his own police statement. Those were the materials that formed the basis for the conclusion of the judgment. So it will be it is shocking to me, but that they would say is political persecution. But I understand. What we do, this is politics in a way. I mean, what they are doing is politics. And they issued that statement, or they had a press conference when they have not even seen, they had not seen the judgment. So do you expect them, now that they've seen the judgment, they will go back and say what we said was wrong? They would never do that. They would rather double down and say things. But so far, I don't think anyone has pointed to any aspect of the judgment that they believe strongly that is so erroneous.
The Deputy Attorney General also debunked assertions that Chairman Wontumi was not legally represented on the day the judge ruled to jail him.
That is a huge misunderstanding of the law. If that is really their position, then they have a great misapprehension of what the law says, and probably of what actually happened in court. The lawyer wrote a letter that I won't be available. At the time he said he won't be available, he has filed a motion and he has filed all the necessary processes that have to be filed. And then on the day, he sends his colleague lawyers from his firm to hold his brief. And the colleague lawyers came to court. So it wasn't as if Wontumi was sentenced in the absence of a lawyer. He had, I think there were about 4 lawyers for him from Atachen's firm. So unless you are saying that without lawyer attached, all the members in the firm are not proper lawyers to represent, but as far as we know, they are also lawyers. And there's no rule of law which says that unless the person who filed the motion comes to move it, the court cannot decide.
That was the Deputy Attorney General, Justice Shremsai. Still on Wontumi, a senior political and history lecturer at the Kean University, Professor Samuel Adujemfi, has said Wontumi's incarceration would not significantly impact negatively on the NPP in the Ashanti region. He said it rather affords the party an opportunity to reorganize properly.
This incarceration raises two real politic questions. Would the enemies or those who dislike the politics of the MPP chairman, right, be excited around this time that they would have the opportunity to effect certain things in his absence? I think that there are critical moments ahead of the MPP, but the absence of Wontumi may be a blessing, or better still a case for the MPP going forward.
Looking at his influence, and you know, when it comes to the party, he has a role in Ashanti and also the national level.
And there was a senior political and history lecturer at the Kean University, Professor Samuel Adujemfi. Away from that, President John Dramani Mahama has reaffirmed the government's commitment to protecting the Achimota Forest Reserve, insisting that the country's largest remaining urban forest will not be sacrificed to private development. According to the president, the Achimota Forest remains a critical environmental asset and national heritage that must be preserved for future generations. Speaking during a courtesy call by the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs, members of parliament from the region and government appointees at the Jubilee House on Tuesday, July 21, President Mahama said Cabinet has approved the revocation of Executive Instrument 144 as amended to restore the reserve to its full protected status. And the president also announced measures to reform Ghana's land administration system, including strengthening the Lands Commission and accelerating the digitization of land records. Let's do more stories. The Ghana Police Service has rescued 33 victims in 3 intelligence-led operations targeting suspected human trafficking and cybercrime networks in parts of Greater Accra. And some of the victims, aged between 15 and 24, were allegedly brought into Ghana under false pretenses and forced to engage in cyber-enabled fraud. The operations were conducted by the Criminal Investigations Department and the Tema Regional Police Command between July 3 and July 15. They followed intelligence gathered on suspected trafficking networks using residential apartments as bases for cyber fraud, as well as the illegal supply of weapons to individuals across the country. And Commissioner of Police Lydia Yako Donko is Director General of the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service.
Preliminary investigations established that Collins Francis Olayi Ojo is the coordinator and leader of the group. He is accused of facilitating the movement of 9 Nigerian nationals from Nigeria to Ghana by road and subjecting them to cyber-enabled fraudulent activities under his direction. The Tema Regional Police Intelligence Directorate, through an intelligence-led operation, arrested 11 suspects for cybercrime activities at Fafa community. A search at the premises led to the recovery of 14 laptop computers with accessories and 12 smart mobile phones, all suspected to have been used in the commission of cybercrime-related offenses. Subsequent investigations revealed that suspects Godstime Terry, age 34, and Wilson Makuo, age 21, who were initially identified as victims, were in fact key coordinators of the syndicate. A third suspect, identified only as Jerry, who allegedly played a key role in trafficking the victims into Ghana, remains at large.
And the voice you just heard is Lydia Yakodonko, the Commissioner of Police, Ghana Police Service. Let's do more stories. The minority has criticized the government's decision to secure a $300 million loan from the World Bank to finance the secondary education transformation for assets relevant and resource for jobs. project. The caucus argues that the loan, which is intended to support the abolition of the double track system under the Free SHS program, reflects the government's failure to effectively manage the country's finances just 9 months after Ghana's exit from the IMF program. Deputy Ranking of the Finance Committee, Dr. Gideon Boakon, and Ranking Member of the Economy and Development Committee, Codjoe, said the government is failing to meet its financial obligations.
And we are telling them that we do not prioritize education so that the revenues that we generate from this country are channeled into education, but rather we are going to borrow to finance secondary education. That is very, very sad and it's very bad. Mr. Speaker, all these are happening because if you look at the government fiscal data from last year to this year, there has been huge revenue underperformance on the part of government, and that is why we are seeing what we are seeing today.
That was Deputy Ranking of the Finance Committee, Dr. Gideon Boakon. But Chairman of the Finance Committee and MP for Bolgatanga Central, Isaac Adongo, has dismissed the claims, saying the loan facility is to help improve secondary education, enhance equitable access, abolish double track, and construct 10 new schools, among other users.
Mr. Speaker, it is important to indicate that there is no loan agreement before this House to finance free SHS. Mr. Speaker, what we are considering is a loan agreement that is meant to improve access to free secondary education, to ensure that we eliminate the double track, provide more opportunities for grade C schools to be upgraded to grade B, and for grade B to be upgraded to grade A. Mr. Speaker, that is the loan that we are considering at this point in time.
That was Chairman of Finance Committee and MP for Bolgatanga, Isaac Adongo. And before we go, leadership of the National Service Personnel Association, NASPA, has suspended with immediate effect the capacity building program and the associated deductions from service personnel allowances pending a review of the initiative. At a press briefing, the national president of NASPA, Abdul Wahab, said although both the program and the deductions have been suspended, there will be no refund for personnel who have already had deductions made from the allowances. The decision follows concerns raised by some national service personnel over the implementation of the program and the mandatory deductions linked to it. According to the association, the suspension is intended to allow for a comprehensive review of the initiative, including stakeholder consultations to address the concerns and improve its implementation. Here is the national president of NAFSA, Abdul Wahab.
Over the past few days, we have been engaged by the management of the National Service Authority over the concerns and frustrations expressed in response to the feedback from the service personnel and general public, and as well as in line with the sector ministers and board's directive. The management have issued this directive to NASPA. The capacity building program, as currently structured, is hereby suspended with immediate effect, pending a comprehensive review of the program for a decisive action to be taken, which is in line with our sector minister and the sector minister, the Minister of Youth, Empowerment and Development, Honorable George Opariadu's directive.
And that was the national president of NASPA, Abdul Wahab. And that will be all for the morning news here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Deborah Bamensa. Up next is Business News.
Three FM. Sunrise on 3FM, the best in the morning. Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
Welcome to Business News. Coming up, Bank of Ghana set to announce policy rate decision today, focused on rising inflation, liquidity reforms, and renewed global oil price risks. And tax analyst urges government to speed up establishment of Women's Development Bank ahead of upcoming media budget review.
The Women's Bank, I wanted him to tell me something about how it's going to be accelerated into action and how many women are getting it from other parts of the country and see how women businesses are going to be enhanced.
Plus, Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors urges government to scrap premix fuel subsidies and redirect funds to community infrastructure.
Allow them to have access to it and then escrow the subsidy amount and use it to develop infrastructure in those communities.
I'm Deborah Bames. I will bring you details of our headlines and other stories for you shortly. Do stay with us. And in the first story, Bank of Ghana set to announce policy rate decision today, focused on rising inflation, liquidity reforms, and renewed global oil price risks. And the Bank of Ghana is expected to announce its latest monetary policy decision later today, following conclusion of its 131st Monetary Policy Committee meeting in Accra. The announcement comes immediately after today's conclusion of its 3 days of deliberations on whether the recent pickup in inflation reflects a temporary adjustment or the start of more persistent price pressures amid renewed volatility in global oil markets and changes to domestic liquidity conditions. There is more in the following 3 Business News Desk report.
The decision is being keenly watched by investors, businesses, and financial markets for guidance on the central bank's next policy direction following 3 consecutive months of rising inflation. Opening the meeting on Monday, Governor Dr. Johnson Panditi-Siama said the committee's deliberations would center on whether inflation's rise from 3.2% in March to 5.3% in June represents an orderly return towards the bank's target range or signals a more persistent shift in the inflation outlook. The committee also assessed the impact of recent liquidity management reforms, including the bank's decision to discontinue pre-financing the Ghana Gold Board gold purchases through its auction arrangements, as well as implications of renewed global oil price volatility on inflation, the exchange rate, and reserve accumulation. Despite the recent increase in inflation, the governor maintained that Ghana's economy remains resilient, pointing to strong first quarter economic growth, improved private sector credit, and a stable banking sector. The Monetary Policy Committee's decision, expected later today, will indicate whether policymakers believe current economic conditions warrant maintaining the policy rate at 14% or adjusting the monetary policy stance to address emerging inflation risks.
That was a 3 Business report on Bank of Ghana set to announce policy rate decision today, focused on rising inflation, liquidity reforms, and renewed global oil price risks. Now, tax analyst and executive director of Revenue Mobilization Africa, Geoffrey Okanse, has urged the government to provide clear timelines and implementation updates on the Women's Development Bank during the upcoming 2026 mid-year budget review. Speaking ahead of the Finance Minister's presentation, scheduled for Thursday, July 23, 2026, Okanse emphasized the need to see swift action towards rolling out targeted financial support for female entrepreneurs across all regions of Ghana.
The Minister for Finance, Dr. Kasiel Atufo-Singh, is expected to present the mid-year budget review to Parliament to update the nation on half-year fiscal policy execution and economic progress. Ahead of the presentation, tax analyst and executive director of Revenue Mobilization Africa, Geoffrey Okanse, expects a workable plan for the proposed Women's Bank.
It's not only about building the markets, but it's also actually the startup capital for these young persons and the gender aspect of it. I mean, how many women are in the, the low bite businesses that are getting support. And the Women's Bank, I wanted him to tell me something about how it's going to be accelerated into action and how many women are getting it from other parts of the country and see how women businesses are going to be enhanced. So that all these ones will tell you that the vulnerable will be catered for.
The tax analyst and executive director for Revenue Mobilization Africa voiced high expectations for fiscal discipline ahead of the 2026 media budget review.
I think for government business, and I think he's doing well with managing it. I want to hear more efforts at cutting down the waste and corruption also as well. And most of the pro-poor policies, any plans to properly target them? I mean, some of us have always said that some of the expenditures of government should be cut down, you know, so are we going to be seeing something talking about the nurses' allowance and the teachers' allowance being negotiated to cut off? And then also, how are we going to be doing some of these pro-poor policies such that some of us who can afford to pay for our ward secondary school, can we have a broad discussion and cut it off government budget? Some of these things I want to see.
As the clock ticks down to Thursday, July 23, all eyes remain firmly on Parliament, where Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atteforssing will lay out the nation's financial roadmap for the second half of 2026.
There was a report on tax analyst Geoffrey Okanse urging government to speed up establishment of Women's Development Bank. Still on the media budget review, the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors is calling for the government to scrap subsidies on premixed fuel. Speaking to the media, the Chamber's Chief Executive, Dr. Patrick Ofori, said funds currently allocated to the subsidies should instead be redirected towards infrastructure development in the affected communities.
Our expectation is that at least a product like premise, government should stop subsidizing. Why give what you don't have? And I don't think it's fair to our brothers in the sector. Allow them to have access to it and then escrow the subsidy amount and use it to develop infrastructure in those communities. If we really want dedicated infrastructure, like we have the HIPIC initiative, HIPIC funds projects in there, I think we can say that the subsidy...
Annan cocoa industry with a proposal to build a 3,000-hectare mechanized cocoa development zone to drive local processing and value addition. Presenting the proposal to Cocoa Board Italian Ambassador to Ghana, Her Excellency Laura Ranalli highlighted the Cocoa Connect initiative, which aims to transition Ghana from exporting raw cocoa beans to producing semi-finished and finished chocolate products. And Cocoa Board Chief Executive Dr. Randy Abbey welcomed the proposal and promised full technical research and agronomic support to help transform the country's cocoa value chain and boost job creation. This strategic collaboration is expected to significantly boost Ghana's foreign exchange earnings and position the nation as a key hub for chocolate manufacturing in West Africa. Now let's take a look at how the cedi is fair market.
The bank foreign exchange market, where banks trade amongst themselves, the dollar is selling at 11 cedis, 60 pesos. It gained 4 pesos. The British pound is selling at 15 cedis, 52 pesos. It recorded no change. The euro is selling at 13 cedis, 24 pesos. It also gained 41 pesos. However, be guided that these figures could be higher at a forex bureau near you. The global commodities market, Brent crude, is trading at $91.42 per barrel. Gold is trading at $4,083 per ounce, up by $74.97. Cocoa is trading at $5,607 per ton, up by $87.
An update from the forex and commodity market. And that'll be all for business news on Sunrise. For more business stories, please check out our website on 3news.com. My name is Deborah Abamensa. Enjoy the rest of your day. Still stay with us on Sunrise.
Great grace and a wonderful morning to all of us who are joining us here on 3FM 92.7. This is the 3FM Sunrise, and am I glad to have you join us for yet another wonderful edition of today's show. Today is Wednesday, the 22nd day of July 2026. As a good book says, this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Yes, I know. Oftentimes we hear these words, we repeat them as many times as possible and do not quite appreciate, right, in great detail exactly what it means. Today is a good day. Today is a day that we will be excited about and we will make do with and ensure that it is productive. If you're just joining us, from now till 10 a.m., we're here. Myself, Codjoe, Patrice Amegashi, DJ Phil, Frederick Kunzo Tiani, and Lord Amwabing. All are here seeking to make your morning a delightful one, and one that will be riveting as well as exciting. All right? Riveting as well as exciting. We'll kickstart it all with a message of motivation, one that seeks to challenge our thinking and our perspective amongst many other things. But take down these numbers, or rather this number. This number is just one. 053 220 0927. 053 220 0927. That's the WhatsApp number by which you can share your thoughts with us on the many matters we have up for discussion. And as always, you are central to the conversation. Let us know what's happening in and around you, right? A problem in your community, your neighborhood, videos, voice notes, you call it what? It is of interest to me. It is of interest to my colleagues. It is of interest to us here at 3FM. We'll follow it up. And we'll seek to find our little own solutions for you as well. Also, we're streaming live on Facebook, our handle 3FM927. Follow us on that stream as well. You can share a message with us there as well, and I'll do the reading for you, as well as on YouTube, 3FM927. Let's get into the message of motivation this morning. And the illusion that first impressions tell the whole story. It's one of the many observations that I've made. The first thing we notice, really, is rarely the whole truth. There's something fascinating about first impressions. The human mind makes them almost instantly. A face, a conversation, a mistake, a headline even, right? Because we're in the business of news. With moments, we begin drawing conclusions. We begin to form conclusions, firm conclusions in our mind. It's one of the mind's greatest strengths. It helps us navigate a complex world very quickly. But it can also become one of our greatest weaknesses, because life has a habit of revealing what first impressions cannot. The quiet person may carry remarkable wisdom. The confident person may be hiding deep insecurity. The colleague who seems distant may be carrying a burden no one else can see. The first opportunity that first looks ordinary may become the one that changes everything. The problem isn't that we form first impressions. The problem is that we sometimes mistake them for final verdicts. We stop being curious, we stop asking questions, we stop allowing people and even ourselves the space to become more than our first impression. Scripture offers a gentle reminder of this when the prophet Samuel went to anoint the next king of Israel. As he looked at Jesse's sons, he was immediately drawn to the eldest. He seemed to have everything a king should possess. But God said something that has echoed through generations. People look at the outward appearance, but I, the Lord, looks at the heart. It wasn't simply a lesson about David. It was a lesson about perception. Human beings naturally see what is visible. Wisdom waits for what is true. And that is why understanding takes time. It refuses to confuse appearance with reality. And so, as we go out into today, and obviously our day will be filled with quick opinions and hurried conclusions, amongst many other things, I want us to pause and ask ourselves earnestly and honestly, am I responding to what I have seen, or have I given truth enough time to reveal itself? Because the deepest realities in life rarely introduce themselves at a first glance, and on which we can reflect and look ahead into today. It will turn us kindly on to the weather, kind courtesy the Ghana Meteorological Agency, who say, amongst many other things, that expect thunderstorms or rain this morning across parts of the north and transition belt, while the south stays mostly cloudy with early mist or fog in some coastal forests and mountainous areas. A few places may experience light rain or drizzle. I must say that some parts have experienced that, Kanda here and some other areas. By afternoon, sunshine and clouds will dominate, but late day thunderstorms or rain are likely to return to parts of the north transition and middle belts as well. That is the weather update for us as well. May I officially welcome us once again to the 3FM Sunrise. We're going from now to 10 a.m. It's an action-packed show which you are central to. Let's get into some great music right now. Kind courtesy DJ Phil will return with the newspapers for you here on the show.
Sunrise on 3FM.